Hello, welcome to episode 21 of the Brand Spotlight. We are with Moshe Adelman of Spice Mania. Welcome, Moshe.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Thank you so much. This live stream is being streamed on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and LinkedIn Live. It will be repurposed as an audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, and your favorite podcast app. Uh, I'll just talk about the agency I've been building up. They are the sponsor of the show, Brands Connect. We focus exclusively on marketing, boutique marketing campaigns. The agency is something I've been building up over the last several years, and this show has been an outgrowth of that. Without further ado, episode 21 of the Brand Spotlight. So we'll dive right in. I've known Moshe for quite some time. We actually grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, we're in the same classes throughout elementary school, high school. So this is going to be a fun one. And recently he reached out that he launched a spice blend. So I said we have to have him on my show. And the company is called Spice Mania. So could you just the first signature question, or actually before that, I forgot to mention. We will be doing a giveaway. We'll be selecting one of the commenters to give away. Moshe has been gracious, and he's going to give away a spice blend, one of the jars of the first spice that he launched, the UMAMI spice, which we'll learn all about in the interview. We already have a comment in. Wow, that was quick. Rena Friedman, Watts, thank you so much. We really appreciate comments. That's what helps the show grow. I guess we'll get right into the interview. The question I always ask, even if it's just one product, if you could describe your brand in a sentence or two, how would you describe it? Are you there?
Yep. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I would describe it as flavorful. So we very take pride on the flavors of the blend. So that's the key note of our blends is to have as much flavor as possible.
That's a great way of putting your brand. I would imagine there's many ways of getting flavor. I know you chose to do it through a spice blend. What was the reason you chose to do it through a spice blend? You could have created. A lot of work goes into creating any products. You could have chose to create many products. Why did you choose to do it through a spice?
It actually happened by accident. I like to make my own dinners and lunches all the time. One of my first jobs was working at a restaurant, so I learned how to grill stuff. And so I was playing with different seasonings when I was cooking my own stuff, and I was mixing this and mixing that and adding a whole bunch of things to things. And then I came upon this mix that I launched, and at first I tried it, I loved it, I was just eating it myself. And then I started to push it on my family, like, okay, can you guys try it too? What if I'm not the only one that likes it? And then everyone was saying they loved it. Um, and it really like got to me like, okay, maybe I should do something about this. And then, I started to get into it more and try to, measure out how much I was doing to keep it consistent. And then from that, it just became, what, maybe this should be my product that I'm going to launch. And from there, it just spiraled until not too long ago, like I guess like 3 weeks ago is when I launched.
Very cool. Congrats on launching. And I love
Thank
it
you.
that it sounds like you weren't necessarily looking to launch a product at that time. I know you for a while. I know you've always been entrepreneurial, but it sounds like it wasn't. It came out of a product that you created for yourself. Were
Correct.
you always hung around the kitchen, or is this a newer thing?
It's been about 10 years now where I've been just cooking random things, steaks, chicken, grilling, just doing putting random leftovers in the fridge into a saute pan and just stirring it up and see what happens. And yeah, so that just gradually over time and just just changing what I do and how I do it.
Interesting. So it sounds like in the last 10 years you've really learned your way around the kitchen. It sounds like you did it much more out of just experimenting, leisure, hobby. not as a business, not it
Right,
wasn't originally a passion in the beginning. It sounds like that's something you've really developed over the last couple of years.
right, exactly.
That's very cool. And how did you come up with this spice?
So I kind of touched on that before, is that I was just mixing things together. Um, and it was just figuring out what flavors were missing from the things that I liked. And when every time we made a barbecue, or anytime we made something, I would always put my this mix that I made. So it was just refining it over time, and then finally at a certain point, it was kind of staying consistent, and everybody saying they liked the way it was. And I don't know if people are just being nice to me. I've yet for someone to tell me they don't like it. I don't know if everyone's just being really nice to me, or no one wants to tell me the truth, but I've yet to hear that people don't like it. So I assume that the mix that I made for myself, I guess, is something that people enjoy.
Interesting. And there's so many mixes on the marketplace. Did you I assume you were trying other mixes on the marketplace. Was it something that you just couldn't find?
So I actually did try a mix. I'm not gonna say which one it is, but I did try a mix that I felt was good, but it was missing a lot of things. And so I kind of took inspiration from that a little bit and made mine even better. I don't know how to explain that better, but yeah, I basically just decided that it wasn't good enough. It was missing a lot, and it was a good base, but it was still missing so much. And all those things that it was missing made the perfect spice that you don't have to do anything to.
So it sounds like you did find stuff on the marketplace. Were you at the stuff on the marketplace that you liked, but you really felt was missing a few of the flavor profiles that you added to really complete it?
Correct. Right.
Yeah. So at the time that you were looking at other spices, were you more just looking for what to cook with, or you were at the point where you really wanted to bring it to market, so you were doing your light market research?
No, I was just trying to find something for myself that I like. Right.
Very
It was
cool.
just, yeah, it was just like happened to be people were trying it out and they loved it. That's when it clicked.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just keep on having to move to the screen to check for
That's okay.
the comments. Yeah, that's a very cool story. How long ago did you? How long? I assume it was a slow process and it evolved over time. But at what point did you decide that like enough is enough? I have to bring it to market.
But you mean like how long did it take me to go from saying I want to do this to actually doing it?
No. At what point did you say this is a really cool spice blend that I'm making for my family, for my friends, I'm making for myself? I really need to take it to market. When did you have the idea to take it to market?
This is probably around 2 years ago, like around the beginning of COVID, where I was like, people come over like, "Oh, what do you guys think? I'm thinking of selling this." And like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, it's good." Or the smell, like, "Oh, it smells amazing." And it's like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe I should stop joking and just maybe do it." So it's about like 2 years ago.
2 years ago. And then how long ago did you decide like you're gonna find a co-packer and just do it?
So actually, one of the people that tried it, um, he was somebody that wanted to invest, and he said, "You know what? I want to be a partner with you." And that's what really like made me think that, okay, this is actually more serious than I thought. Because I didn't request him to be a partner. He was just like, I want to be a partner with you. So I was like, oh wow, that's unexpected. So we started talking. We were gonna do it together. He was gonna use his warehouse. He had people that I was gonna be able to work with. He was gonna help me have salesmen running around doing things. And I spoke to my father, and he kind of said, I think you should do this by yourself. I don't think you should have a partner. um, do what you can, try to make it work with the money you have, and just maybe start small. Don't start as big as he was going to do, and just start smaller and just work your way into where you want to be. It's just much better without partners. And so my father was right. He had good advice, and I actually told my friend, I said, I'm sorry, I really want to do this on my own. I also don't have to worry about growth at someone else's level. I can do it at my own level, at my own pace, when I have time, and eventually, if it takes up all my time, it takes up all my time. But it's just good to know that I'm the one that started. So this is about a year and a half ago when that started.
Cool. Could you tell us about I know a little bit about your father and a little bit about his experience in the industry. Could you tell us a little bit about his experience in the industry and
Yeah. So my father was one of the first, if not the first, I don't know for a fact, but one of the first kosher supermarkets in Los Angeles, California. My When he first got married to my mother, my grandfather told him there's a need for a kosher market in this community. He kind of gave him the store stocked and then said, "Here are the keys. You're on your own from now." So he had a little bit of a startup, but the first bills were all on him. He had to deal with everything. So he started with a very small market. It was very small, and over 35 years, he's been growing. He kind of at a certain point stopped growing, but he's been in the grocery market for 35 years, so he knows a lot about food and what moves and what doesn't.
so I'm sure that helped. You had sound advice coming from him. You knew it was credible advice.
Yeah, when he told me not to have a partner, yeah, he had partners at one point and had to get out of it.
My question is, was he able to help you in testing the market in terms of certain ideas? I don't know what those ideas were, or were you much more like on your own when it came to developing the product?
He didn't really help me so much in terms of the development of the product. Um, he helped me on in terms of distribution, but not necessarily in terms of producing. So, I mean, he would tell me, "Yeah, it tastes good," but it wasn't really so much into developing all the labeling
That's
and
not
the
his
branding.
expertise. His expertise
It's
is
not
much.
that. Sorry, go ahead.
I assume his expertise is much more in the grocery aisle and the distribution and the movement of product.
Right. I mean, he does have a business mind. I felt like I had enough information to be able to do some of it, and the things that I didn't, I went to him for.
Very cool. Yeah, that's cool. And I know you launched at his shop, so that was really fun. I
Yeah.
actually got to purchase some. I have with me.
Oh wow, all the way to New York, huh?
No, I'm in I'm in LA. I'm
Oh, you.
currently in LA.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So here it's Umani. I want to talk about what's inside it, or I want to talk a lot about the business in general. A couple of years ago, you went to the spice shelf and you got raw ingredients. There weren't when I say raw, you got single spices. You got garlic, you got onion, whatever it was. Lately, there's been a proliferation of blends. People really creating their own blends. Do you think that the market's just more ready for this kind of for ready-made blends?
Um, to be honest, I didn't really care. I just said, you know what? If it's a good enough spice, the biggest barrier to entry would be just getting that first spice in their house. Once they first have it, they'll know they'll love it, and then they'll go back to buying it. So I didn't really even if there was no market for it right now. If I just get it in somebody's hands and they try it, I know they'll like it just because of the feedback I got. And I asked people to be honest. I said, I don't care about my feelings. Just tell me what you think. And everyone said they love it. So I know at this point, if they have it in their hands, they're gonna love it. So it's just a matter of, okay, how do I get people to get it, and how do I get people to be aware of it?
If you're launching a product, this is great feedback. You can't afford to safeguard your feelings. You have to get really, really good feedback. Now, I see it's not so many ingredients, but there's a nice amount: garlic, salt, paprika, onion, spices, including chili pepper. I'm not sure what that includes. Mushrooms, green onion, and tomato. I assume that every single spice, every single thing there, it has a specific reason for it and the right
Yeah, everything.
measurements. Could you tell us a little bit about that process? How you came really to the measurements and to the flavor profile? Any stuff you added that you didn't like? Any stuff you had to tame down, go a little bit more, just a little bit of that process, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Obviously, some of it is proprietary. I do understand that, but whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Right. So there actually are a lot more spices that are not listed. I asked the manufacturer to just list what we had to, which is what's on the label there. Um, and so it was just there was more. The spices never really got removed. The only thing that really changed was the amounts of things. So like let's say more garlic or less garlic, or more paprika or less paprika, or more salt or less salt. and refining the exact amount. That the whole point is that this is supposed to be a ready thing that you just have a piece of meat, you pour it on, you put it in the oven, you have a finished product, and it tastes amazing. So you don't have to add anything to it, you don't have to change anything to it. I know there's a lot of people that like spicy, and I know this is not a spicy uh, spice by itself. That is something, if this goes well, I would just offer one that would be a spicy version of this. So that would be the only time you would have to change it, is if you're like, I want something spicier, you'd have to add something to it. But that in the future, hopefully, would be something you could just get the spicy version of this. But yeah, but in terms of like what I had to take out, there's nothing that I had to take out. Everything that was added, I like the way it tasted. It was just a matter of, is the garlic too potent? Is the paprika too potent? Is the other flavors that are in there too potent? And then just making it refined to the amount that it was just the perfect amount of everything.
Very cool. Now I want to go through the co-packing experience or the manufacturing experience. It's one thing to make it out of your house, to work all those ingredients. It's another thing to both find a manufacturer that you'd like to work with, that works well with you, and then a lot of times the tests that you did in your house taste completely different when it goes through the manufacturing. So I want to know a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so um, I'm actually very lucky, and I think you know him as well. We have a classmate that his father owns a spice wholesale company, and they actually do this every day. People come to them and even just buy just bags of garlic, 25 pounds of garlic, right? And they'll just sell as a wholesale to these people. And then people that want to get these bottles made, they could do proprietary mixes for people too. That you could just tell them what percentages in weight. You have to tell them in ounces, and then they'll just make it for you. So when I first started, I was first mixing it all together. I actually didn't know at first what the ounces were. I just knew, here's a bottle. I knew this much was this much was this ingredient. I just knew in level. So I took a picture of it. And I was like, this is what it should be. Like, that's not good enough. We need weight. So I had to buy a little one of those ounce scales, almost like I'm a drug dealer. And I was like weighing every single ingredient for them, and then just gave them a list. Okay, this is what each one should have. And then I asked for a sample, and it actually was the first sample was not good. It didn't taste right. Something was off. I don't know. I forgot what I did to change it. I think I just played with a few things, and then the second sample they sent was actually much better and back to what I was used to. But I don't remember exactly what I changed to fix it. I just remember that there was something off about the first sample I got.
Very cool. I do want to unpack that a little bit. And I will, in a minute, I will stop because we got quite a few comments inside. So
Sure.
we want to address them. But I want to unpack first out, shout out to our mutual friend who his family's in the spice business for many years. I assume you knew you could trust him right away. You could trust the facility. You didn't even have to go shopping in terms of finding the right facility. Like you went to him, you knew what he was able to offer, and he was able to really do good work for you. They're really good. From what I understand, they really have a good name in the industry, and that's amazing. So that's a really good that you had that process. I guess, and it's really cool that it's that you had to like you gave them you had to essentially give them the measurements. The first batch didn't taste good. So what? They just made one. They just made like a little bit of a prototype with your
Yeah,
measurements.
they at first they sent me one of those regular spice bottles, which are the taller ones, the It's Delicious size. Um, and at first I was going to go with that size. That's why they sent me that size. And then that's when my father's input came, and he said, I think it might be too expensive, because at the beginning of COVID, prices hasn't hadn't skyrocketed like they did now. So at the time, it's like, I think it might be too expensive. I think you should go with a smaller bottle and just offer something smaller. So that's when I changed it to the smaller bottle.
But they just gave you the first spice. You said you did not like the way it came out, so they gave it to you in like one of those bottles, and then you just
One of the bigger
redid the
bottles, right?
recipe once, and the next time you hit it.
Yeah, I don't remember I remember it tasted very bland, didn't have a lot of flavor. So I don't remember exactly what it did. I think if I remember correctly, I think I might have reduced the amount of garlic and said, maybe just go down on the garlic, because garlic can sometimes mute flavors if it's too much in there. So I think I just lowered the amount of garlic, and then from there it kind of hit that sweet spot.
So you have to become a food scientist, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah,
Very
kind of.
cool. Let's get in some comments. Rena Friedman Watts with another comment. What do you put it on? That's a very important question.
So a lot of people have been telling me it's good on everything. I personally think that it's should be used on meat, chicken, and vegetables, like broccoli, zucchini, cauliflower, those kind of. If you grill it, it'll even taste better. But generally what I put it on is meat, chicken, and vegetables.
I actually bought some for my sister. She told me she put it on chicken and she didn't have to put any other spices, and it was just so simple.
Yeah, I would love to hear the real feedback though, even if it means it wasn't good. I would love to hear it. Just be like, okay, maybe I can make it better somehow. I would love to hear real feedback if I could get it.
Perfect. So hopefully we'll tell everybody how they can buy it. Hopefully one of the winners will bring feedback. We'll also tell people how they can buy it. We'll get to the distribution end in a minute. We still have some more questions, but I will ask, where is it currently available? Is it still at the one location, or you got it distributed in more locations?
So I'm not going to take credit for getting distributed because I wasn't the one that did it. I don't think that's fair of me. So there's a company called Nick Trading, and he is a good friend of my father's, and he, as a favor, took this on and is distributing it for me. It is going to be at La Brea Market. It's also going to be it is currently at Western Kosher, Beverly Hills Kosher, Cambridge Farms, and a couple more that I don't have the name for.
So a bunch of kosher. Currently, it's in a bunch of kosher markets in Los Angeles. Like I said, we'll get into the distribution. It's not only a kosher product. This product is for anybody. So I know we have a big LinkedIn audience. If you're a food buyer, make sure to reach out to Moshe. I'm sure he'd love to get it into your store. He'll put you in touch with the distributor. We do have some more comments. Something that we mentioned earlier, Lana. Why didn't you list all the ingredients?
So part of every spice mix is
Was it a proprietary issue?
I just don't want it to be easily copied. Like obviously anyone can reverse engineer any spice. It's possible. That's why you can't copyright it. That's why you can't trademark it. You can't because it's too easy to reverse engineer it. So I didn't want it to be a simple thing to copy. That obviously if someone has the will and the way, they will do it anyway. But it just makes it much easier that like if someone just buys one bottle, they'll just make it at their own house. They'll just figure out the measurements themselves or keep testing until they get it. At this point, it's a little harder for them to do it. At the same time, I'm trying to run a business. It's not just, trying to just give some, if I wasn't trying to run a business, I'll just give it for free, right? So that is part of the reason why I don't want to give every ingredient is just so I have that person coming back to buy it again. And the restaurants do the same thing. I think KFC has a secret sauce, right? Their secret sauce, right? But generally you could go on the internet and I'm sure people have tried to copy it and came up with a copy, but that's their thing is that they have that secret sauce that nobody has the ingredient list to.
So really, you just wanted to you didn't want to make it easy, very easy for people to just copy it. You wanted people to know that they have to get it from one of your locations. That's very cool. Beatrice has some emojis. We love emojis comments too because they help the show grow. And we have another comment. Super impressive. Any plans to go organic from ES?
So this is a very good question. This is actually the early partner that I was speaking of. We were actually talking a lot about this. They're saying, maybe we should launch this as an organic only product. And the issue was going back to what my father had said, which is if you're soft launching your company and you're doing this with now, I don't have any seed money. I don't have just some random just giving me money. This is just coming out of my pocket, right? So I have to start small. It's always something I can add in the future. It's not something that's hard to do. It just increases the cost, and everything's about the barrier to entry. If you want someone to try your product and it's too expensive, you're cutting the amount of people that will try your product. Now it could be there's a subset of people that only want to buy organic, and that's fine. And I think that they should have that ability. Unfortunately, increase the cost too much that the people that don't care about organic won't buy it because they don't care about getting only organic. So I had to choose that fine line. And I did feel like there were more people out there that would buy non-organic than organic. So in the beginning, I am going to do this as just a non-organic. It might be organic, but it's not certified organic. And to get those certified organic labels and companies to get on would cost too much money in the beginning.
That's very cool. Lana says makes sense. She was the one who asked about the ingredients, so
Yeah.
she appreciates your response. Now, I do want to get to a few more things before we get to the distribution. Still, in terms of the actual spice, how did you come up with both the name Spice Mania as the company brand name and Umani as the season mix?
So going to the brand name first. So actually, I'm very bad at coming up with the names. It's always been a fault of mine. I'm just terrible at it. Um, so I've been. That was actually one of the biggest delays of launching this company is I just didn't know what to call it. When I first filed my LLC, it was actually Moshe Adelman LLC, and or Moshe Adelman Spices LLC, and I was told by people that's not even good for law reasons. It could be liability issues. So I knew I couldn't launch that way. So I was trying to figure out what to call it, and people were saying just call it the Umami brand or just call it this brand or and then my father-in-law actually came up with like a bunch of names that I could probably find in my message history, and this one just hit me like this is right. This is the right one. It just makes sense. I don't know. It just hit me at the right way. I was like, this. I just like it, and that's when I said, okay, I'm just going full force on it. I did a trademark search on it. There was no trademark on it, and then I was able to just establish it as the company name. And then going on the name of the spice, the reason umami was picked, and it may change in the future because I think it's a little confusing for people, but the reason umami was picked is because that's actually one of the things you're tasting when you taste the spice, but you don't know that you're tasting it. So a lot of people will be like, "What is that that I'm tasting?" They don't know what that is. It actually is the umami mushroom, which is actually one of the most expensive ingredients in this spice and the most volatile. I was told by the manufacturers, my price can change based on what's happening in the market with that specific spice. So that's why I put umami on it. But I think it's a little bit hard for the consumer to understand what that means. So I think I might just change it to seasoned salt in the future.
Okay, I do know that the name Umani is does have people are starting to get to know it. A lot of the gourmet, more exclusive gourmet brands use that term. Yeah, we've had another company that had a something very similar with a similar name. So it does lend itself to that gourmet experience. I do want to ask about the design. How did you come up with the design? And here is the design. It's very, very clean. I happen to like it a lot. I'm curious how you came up with the design, the wording, and everything.
Okay, so the design was actually something that took about 2, 3 months for me. Um, I was actually took a little longer because I was first with another designer. They sent me, I think, 20 mock-ups. I didn't like any of them. They were supposed to redo them and give me more. They ended up having to cancel out. They had some family issues. They couldn't continue the project. I spoke to one of my cousins who happens to have a little bit of some kind of Photoshop experience and did some kind of this stuff. And I was like, I really want to make a label for this. I can't figure out what to do. And he said, you know what? Contact this person. And I want to. Do you mind if I shout her out?
Sure. Please do.
So
We love shout outs. That way we
I
get
don't
to.
think I don't think she's expecting this, but her name is Malki Aguilar. She's amazing. And so she sent me a bunch of different mock-ups. And honestly, they were all good and it was hard for me to choose. And one of my main criteria was I wanted to be a modern design, clean, and I want to be able to have different colors because in the future I want to be able to release more of different type of spices. So I wanted to be able to have a different color. So that's why that red bar is for this specific spice. And it makes it easier for the consumer to understand it's a different spice rather than just having a different name. It has a different color, so you don't confuse the two between, let's say, a salt and a vinegar or a salt and a garlic, right? You don't want to confuse those two. So having two colors makes it easy to differentiate what is the two different. So that's how I chose this label.
And how
And
did you find
sorry.
this designer?
This is from my cousin. He told me
Oh, so
to
it's a
contact her.
direct referral.
Yeah,
And do you know how any of the audience would like to find her? Well, we could put her stuff in the show notes, but do you know if she has a website or she's on LinkedIn or anything?
I think I would have to ask her first before
Okay.
I give her information out. Uh, I do think she does this on the side right now because I think she has a full-time job and does this on the side. But she is absolutely amazing, and as long as she's okay with me giving her information out, I would love to give it out.
Okay. If she's fine with it, we'll put it on the show notes and give her the shout out. Thank you so much. We love shout outs. The now I think you really told us a lot about the brand development, both in terms of the spice, and you actually had a very short life. It you said it was about 2 years since you decided you want to bring it onto the market till you actually put it onto the market. A few months, what a few the development did take some time, and also just the graphics also must have taken time. I mean, you did mention that was a few months, so you did get it onto the market pretty quickly. I know it was probably pretty easy to get it on the shelf at your father's store, but you did say you did have help uh, doing distribution in more stores, and you chose to use a distributor or a distributor who was friendly with you. Chose to really take it on as a his little project.
Yeah. So sorry, was there a question there?
Yeah, could you just tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah. So one of the biggest problems I had when I was like decided, okay, I'm going to be selling this product, is I have a full-time job. So how am I going to go around to the stores, make sure the shelves are stocked? I'm going to have to go and be a salesman at the same time. I have to get them to want them to get on the shelf. I talked to a couple stores, they were into it, but then like I was like trying to make connections to get into other stores, and I realized like it just can take too much time. I'm gonna have to drive to each store and deliver it and do it myself, and I don't have the time to do that. And I kind of felt defeated. I was like, I don't like this, and that's when my father said, maybe I could talk to one of my distributors. He's an amazing guy, um, and maybe he can get into stores for you. I was like, you know what, let's try it. And yeah, he was on board from day one. He's amazing. I owe him a lot of cars to toe. I'm very happy for him. He happens to try the product too and liked it, but I don't think that's relevant. I think he would have done it either way. Um, but yeah, he's amazing and just was from day one just got it into as many stores as he can. So yeah, so
Cool.
he's the distributor for me.
I know you threw in a Hebrew word. You owe him a lot about Kara Satov. So we have a big audience here. That means you owe him a lot of things. I do want to read another comment just to give you some more information. ES wants to know, how do we join the raffle to win the spice? So at the end of the show, we will pick one of the commenters. If you're on YouTube, you're going to have to email us. If we pick you, you'll have to stay on, and then you'll have to email me, Joe at thebrandspotlight.com, or message me because YouTube does not give us your contact information. Facebook and LinkedIn's a little bit easier, but that's how we would pick one of you, and then you would contact us. So thank you for that. As I mentioned before, we will be doing a raffle and we will be selecting one of the commenters to give one of the spice blends that Moshe Adelman from Spice Mania has been so gracious. We covered a tremendous amount of your entire process from development in your own kitchen to finally taking it to market, finding, I forgot one step, getting the manufacturer, taking it to market, getting it on your father's shelf, trying to do the distribution on your own, realizing that's not really a possibility, and finding someone who's really able to help you out doing the distribution. Another thing that fascinates me is a lot of seeds we plant. It doesn't we don't see the fruits of them until years later down the road. I'm sure the person who's helped you out, it's because he had a very good relationship with your dad. He's been working with him for many years. A lot of times we do something, we're nice to someone, or we help them out. We could see the rewards, 20, 30 years later. So that's really cool. Are you available? I know you're available in all the kosher markets. Are you available online?
So that is something that's excuse me, in the works right now. Um, there's somebody that expressed interest to handle all the online for in terms of the website. I'm still deciding if I want to be on Amazon or not. Amazon is a very competitive marketplace. I know Amazon very well. That's my day job. I don't know if it's the right market for it, but I may do it depending on how it goes in stores. I want to be able to first provide it for stores and not run out of stock online. So just so I can see what people in the communities that I love and are dear to me get to have. I don't have a lot of stock.
Oh wow. So you just did one run.
I did a very small run, the smallest run possible.
Oh wow. And what has been the feedback so far?
The only feedback I've got is that I love it. And
Okay.
I like I said, I honestly I don't care about my feelings. If anyone buys my product and doesn't like it, please email me. I will take care of you either with a refund or something. But I also would like to have that constructive criticism. If you say it's too salty, not salty enough, not spicy enough, doesn't taste good, just give me that feedback because anything is good. Anything can help me improve the product to be better.
Wow, we've really covered everything. I'm just gonna ask the final. We will do the raffle, and I'll ask the final question. Oh, Racheli Ben Parat. That's my sister actually. That I sent her. I bought her one. We already use your brand of umani. So good on boneless chicken and so easy, one and done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So I will ask the final question. But first, I just want to thank the audience. This is episode 21 of the Brand Spotlight with Moshe Adelman of Spice Mania. It's been incredible. We are streamed live on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and LinkedIn Live. We are repurposed as an audio podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app. And now on to the final question. But before that, we're going to choose one of the commenters. Are you able to see the comments? Moshe,
Where?
on the side where it says comments.
Oh, let me check. Yes, I can.
All right. I'm putting you on the spot. You have someone you want to select?
I'd rather do random.
Oh, I don't know how to do random.
You could just.
Um,
How many commenters are there?
there is. Okay, I'm just going to number them quickly while we're on the live.
There's a
There's
random number generator you could do.
right. So there's one. I'm just going to, even if they did double, I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it shows me 11 comments, and it shows me 11 comments. The software I'm using shows everyone from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and it gives me all of them here in the dashboard.
Okay. Okay, so we have 11, you said?
Yeah.
Number 11.
Oh, that was my sister, Rachel
And she
Benpra.
already has one.
All right, she'll get another one, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, lucky her. But reach out to me or Moshe if you want. We could always send you an address of where you can buy it, or we could let you know when it will go live online. Congrats, Rachel. Now for the final question, do you have? And first, I want to thank you. It's been a real pleasure to connect with you again in this way. I also appreciate that you're willing to come on, despite the fact that you're very very early on, and you've been very very candid with your responses. There's always insight that you get from a founder at any level, wherever they're at. There's a certain amount of being candid that you're able to do. So, my last question: any parting words, and where can we find you?
Me personally, I'm in the office. You can find my products hopefully in stores near you, unless you're not in LA right now. Hopefully online soon. And no, I guess thank you so much, Joe, for having me on. I really appreciate you. You're awesome.